Hi everybody, welcome to the Nick the Brave Chemo Kitties and Canines podcast. I'm your host, Nick the Brave. As someone battling cancer, I know how important it is to stay positive in the rough times. This is the only podcast that looks at the heroes behind the scene who help people that need it the most. Hi everyone, welcome to the Nick the Brave Chemo Kitties and Canines podcast. I'm your host, Nick the Brave, and today I'm honored to have a special guest, retired Colonel Mike Griswold. Colonel Griswold is a West Point graduate and a 30-year veteran of the United States Army. He serves as the president of Fort Leavenworth School District Board of Education, and I went there when I was a kid. He has also served as Leavenworth City Commissioner and since being elected in 2017 and was also mayor in 2020. Hi, Colonel Griswold. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Nicholas. It's good to be asked to be one of the participants in your podcast, and I look forward to our conversation.
Good. I know I told our listeners a little about you, but could you tell a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, I'll say a little bit more. I grew up on Long Island in a town called Centerport, about 50 miles from New York City on the north coast of Long Island on the Long Island Sound, and had a great family, great parents. I was active in sports in high school, basketball, football, lacrosse. I went to West Point after my senior year and played varsity lacrosse while I was there, and obviously graduated in 1973 and became an armor officer. And then I served in the Army for 30 years. About half of my assignments were either at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. I had 3 assignments there and 2 at Fort Riley. So after all those years, and probably even before I retired, my wife and I knew that we were going to adopt Kansas as our home state. And we did that. And I retired in 2003 as a colonel and retired from Fort Leavenworth and to live in the great city, first city of Kansas, Leavenworth. And we haven't looked back. It's been a great 18 years. And so I would say that's a little summary of my life as a kid and my professional time as in the military. One other thing I'll say is that after I retired, I became a defense contractor. And for most of those 15 years, I was a defense contractor. I was a program manager in support of programs and projects that supported the United States Army, mostly at Fort Leavenworth, but also in other installations around the globe.
This podcast is about people who help others. You have many things going on in your life. How do you strive to help other people as you do all of those jobs?
I focus on trying to be a public servant and believing in selfless service. You know, the West Point motto is duty, honor, country. I've tried and think I have lived by that motto throughout my life. And I just try to do the best I can in whatever responsibilities I have, do the best possible job that I can. And in doing that, I know that I help people, whether it's, my time as or my role as city commissioner or in my role as the president of the school board of the Fort Leavenworth School District. I know that I just have to do my homework, do the very best I can, give it 100%. And then if I do that, I'm pretty sure that I'll help people who I'm responsible for helping, who are part of the organizations that I'm leading.
What made you get on the positivity track?
I just think my upbringing in terms of my parents, and they set a great foundation for me. And then going to West Point was challenging, particularly that first year with academics. And I don't think I would have made it through that first year if I hadn't been positive. But I don't know, it's just the ethos of the Army and a can-do attitude, mission focus, but also taking care of the men and women who you are responsible for. And so that just took that through my 30 years. I spent 8 years as a colonel, which really is the first real senior leadership position within the United States Army, on the officer side, the commissioned officer side. Of course, all the general officers are senior leaders, but colonels are too. So I did had 8 years. That helped me as a defense contractor. That helped me when I was selected to be the president of the school board at Fort Leavenworth, and it helped me even in my election and my run and my campaign for city commission for the city of Leavenworth.
What is the biggest impact you've had in people's lives? How do you think you've done that?
Like I said, just in terms of whatever the mission of the particular organization I'm part of, like for the city commission, we need to take care of citizens. We need to try to improve their quality of life. And so every issue, every matter that comes in front of the city commission in terms of the homework that is done prior to the commission meetings, I'm just looking for options and the very best options, evaluating the options and deciding what is best to improve the city, for instance, and then improve the quality of life for the citizenry, the general citizens. And I just approach each and every one of those decisions with the utmost due diligence and just confidence that if I do my homework and I keep true to the oath of my office, that I will do the right thing. Every decision I make as a commissioner, every vote I take probably won't be popular for all the citizens, but I don't think I will have or have had any regrets about doing what I think is right based on a lot of due diligence and all the experience I've had in my 40 plus years as a leader.
Being mayor of Leavenworth and being president of the school board during pandemic must have been difficult. What do you do to stay positive with the negative people that might be out there?
You're right. And I also was running for about 6 months from late May through early November. I was running to try to be elected as the state representative for the 41st district for the House of Representatives for Kansas, which I was unsuccessful in. But still, though, I had 3 major things going on in my life. And I like being busy. Certainly 2020 gave me an opportunity to be very, very busy. And we had to deal with certain issues. One was whether we would go ahead and put a mask ordinance in place in the public places within the city of Leavenworth, and that a lot of people didn't want us to do that. We took a look at it back in July, for instance, and we didn't. Things weren't great, but the numbers weren't too bad in terms of the positivity rate as far as people being tested for COVID-19 and those people contracting the disease. So we voted not to go ahead and implement a mask mandate at that time. But then 3 or 4 months later, when the numbers and the number of cases started increasing quite dramatically during the last week of October and the first week or 2 of November, we readdressed the issue as a city commission and voted 4-1 to go ahead and put a mask mandate in place within the city of Leavenworth. And following in our steps were the cities of Lansing and the city of Tonganoxie, 2 other cities within the county of Leavenworth. And the county commission decided they've never wanted to put a mask mandate in place. And so there were a lot of citizens who didn't want us to do that and had to listen to them and everything. But I just felt we did the right thing. Once again, the due diligence that we did the study and we looked at the science and we felt that it could make a difference. And then we voted our consciences. And so I'm able to sleep at night.
Not everybody has the same opinions. People are different. Do you ever think about how your positivity brings people together? And if so, how do you think that works?
I do think it hopefully has an impact. And if you don't mind me quoting Maya Angelou, one of her famous quotes is that I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So I'm interested in people, even if I'm only, met them and we're talking for 2 or 3 minutes, I try to find out, where they grew up, a little bit about them, and meet them on their terms and just get to know them a little bit. I'm interested in people. I think I have good interpersonal relationship skills. And that's kind of how I'm wired. And I think as I've grown older and as each year has gone by, I've become more and more positive. I get discouraged sometimes, just like normal people do, but I I get a good night's sleep, and then I get up the next morning and then just try to continue doing the very best that I can do at whatever task or whatever mission I'm working on.
What are the positive things you would like to tell everyone to know about people you've met in your travels?
I just, approach them and use what they tell me about themselves when I'm talking to them, if it's just informal, or if and I haven't been traveling very much lately, obviously, and none of us really have been, but I just, give them the benefit of, if I'm talking to them about a particular subject, I give them the benefit of my training and education and experience. I talk to them directly. I am big on communication and the power of communication at all levels, particularly strategic communications. And a great reason that leaders are effective is if they can communicate well. And it's not as easy as a lot of people think. There are various means in which one communicates, obviously, but I do really put a premium on communication, strategic communications in all the roles that I've been privileged to serve in, such as the school board president of Fort Leavenworth School District, such as the city commissioner and mayor of the city of Leavenworth, when I was a program manager in defense contracting, or when I was a colonel. I really learned that lesson back when I was probably a second lieutenant, just in terms of the platoon of soldiers I had, the 30 soldiers. And that was really direct leadership. But the way I communicated with them in terms of thoroughness and being able to get the word out early, I think really paid dividends. And I've just taken that throughout my career. And as a senior leader, I know it's very, very important. And I place a lot of emphasis on it. And I think it's held me in good stead as I've, worked with people over the years.
What are the long-term goals in terms of what you can do for other people?
Just doing the very best I can in these positions that I'm in now, and just giving it 100%, and knowing that if I do my due diligence based on my experience, training, and education, my empathy for people, our fellow citizens, that I'll make good decisions that will impact people, for instance, in the city or in the school district, and the students in the school district, not only now, but in the mid to long term. And that if I make good decisions along with my colleagues on the city commission or my colleagues on the school board, that there'll be a benefit, hopefully not only in the short term, but also the midterm and long-term aspects of these organizations. And I think that's how I would answer that at this point.
I always ask this question on my podcast. Who do you think is someone positive that should be on my podcast in the future?
I have two people, and I haven't talked to them about this, but I will. One is Mr. Keith Ricard. He has been for 30 years the executive director of the Guidance Center, which is a center within the city of Leavenworth that serves the citizens of Leavenworth County to meet their mental health needs and their behavioral health needs. And I've gotten to know him pretty well over the last year and a half. We served together on a mental health task force within the county that did a study in 2019 looking at the needs of people within the county, their mental health needs, because there has been a mental health crisis in Leavenworth County, as there has been in other counties within the state and frankly across the nation. And we looked at identifying those needs of the citizens, and then we recommended solutions to meet those needs. And there was going to be a ballot question put in front of the citizens of Leavenworth in 2020, but we had to postpone that because of it wasn't a good time to put a ballot question, because we needed to there needed to be a small tax to raise the money to implement the recommendations from our task force. But we decided to pull the ballot question because people were hurting with respect to their finances because of the COVID-19 health crisis. So we're hoping in 2021 to go ahead and have the county commission once again put that ballot question in front of the citizens, and hopefully they would be positive. They would, we would win that ballot question would receive a positive vote, and we'd be able to implement a number of recommendations from this mental health task force in the county of Leavenworth. The other person is Pat Kitchens, who's the police chief of city of Leavenworth. He's been the police chief for about 13 years, but has been on the force for 30 years. He grew up, he was a military brat, but I think his father's last assignment was at Fort Leavenworth, and he came on the Leavenworth Police Department as a young man, as far as I'm concerned, as a great chief in terms of meeting all the law enforcement needs of the city of Leavenworth, but also being very progressive about the policies and practices that his police department implements in the performance of their duties.
Thank you, Colonel Griswold, for being all that you do for the community. And thank you for being on my podcast.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.